Hello, welcome to a midweek business news report. It's now time to bring you a feature on the show today as we look at the energy sector in Nigeria. Now, the amount spent on the importation of petrol in the first half of this year jumped to 1.47 trillion naira, which is more than 73% of what was incurred in the whole of last year. According to data from the National Bureau of Statistics, the 1.4 trillion naira is about 86% of what the country spent on petrol imports in the whole of 2019. Now, the petrol imports gobbled up 782.46 billion naira in the second quarter of this year, up from 687.74 billion naira spent in the importation of the product in the first quarter of this year. Now, the country spends no less than 1.09 trillion naira on petrol imports in the first half of 2020, up from 766.06 billion naira within the same period of 2019. Well, joining me now live in our Lagos studio to discuss this and much more, I have Adeola Yusuf, Team Lead, Platforms Africa. Good to have you on the breakfast show this morning.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Now, looking at the volume we have imported just in the first half of this year, gobs no less than at least about 80% of what we had for the year 2020 within the entirety of 2020, so to speak. But we can understand that we had the lockdown and all of this, but this volume cannot be matched to pre-COVID-19 levels of 2019. This also is much more than what we recorded. So at the end of the day, what do you think are the fueling elements here that we're seeing continuous spike so far?
Okay, thank you so much. According to the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, which is expected to know, this was blamed on smuggling of petroleum products. You will understand that neighboring countries, the countries that surround Nigeria, the price of petrol in those countries are less than the regulated price we're selling in Nigeria. And that is an easy invitation to those who will understand business, quote and unquote, to go and make easy profits.
So we import and then it's smuggled out.
We import and some elements, according to the NNPC, smuggle that out and sell. If you understand, I mean, we all understand that the amount we are selling naturally is not supposed to be the amount we are selling. It's because of the subsidy regime that we have on ground. So that is another call that this subsidy, that a lot of people are making fortunes out of it illegally. You understand? So that has been the major reason, number one. Then number two, the state of refineries. There is no way we'll talk about this that won't talk about the state of refineries. Nigerian has refineries, 4 of them, with capacity 445,000 barrels capacity daily. And 445,000 barrels of crude are allocated to these refineries on daily basis. Because they are inefficient, there is this DSDP, direct sale, direct purchase, otherwise called crude swap, that is in place. So the state of refinery is even another cause for that, because if our refineries are working at optimal capacity, there won't be need to import and spend that huge amount of money on fuel importation. So these are 2 of many reasons that
you sharing the sentiment that it's a little too late for us to start refining oil?
It's not late at all. It's not late at all. Having it in mind that up till this moment, Nigeria remains the most populous black nation in the world. If you are talking of production leg of the value chain, Nigeria should be there. But particularly not talking of the consumption leg of the value chain, we have the number to consume. So there is nothing wrong. It is not late. In actual fact, it's what we should do, and we should be so serious about doing.
I ask this based on the timeline of the fact that we are looking at a gradual phase of crude at a point in time where we're all looking at cleaner energy and all of this. To what extent do you think we can have any light at the end of the tunnel? Because this is also ridding us of a lot of investment opportunities that we could have actually channeled this money to, and it will keep increasing at the end of the day. By the end of this year, we expect this figure to double. This is beyond 2019. This is beyond 2020. We are already in 2021. Even by 2022, as the subsidy regime still continues, until that feasible framework is developed to ensure that we can have subsidy removed, and then we now have cost reflective tariffs in terms of the pricing of petroleum products, then before we can now begin to see any sign of any light. But do you see any way forward at all? Okay,
two critical issues you raised from that question. The first one, whether it is right now, while other countries or the superpower, so to say, are moving away from crude or fossil fuel into the cleaner energy, whether it is right, whether Nigerians should start looking towards that direction. There's something wrong in doing that, because technology is something that if you are not there, you'll be left behind. But having said that, Nigeria, up till this sample moment we're just talking about, crude oil is still relevant, because you understand that even technology usually come in phases. We have not been to that level. Okay, what are the alternative? Electricity. Do we have that? Or gas? Do we have that? Up to this morning that we're still talking, 12.5 kg of gas is sold at over 6,000 naira. So those alternatives are not still there. So we still have a lot to do with this crude that we are still with. So it is still important. While we are looking at those alternatives, it's still important to keep, proper attention, on this oil, crude oil. That's aside. The second, the leg of the question is about whether we should start talking about the alternative properly now. I think it is not wrong to start talking about the alternative because of the fact that whether we like it or not, there was a time that in my newsroom, The Week magazine, some years back, we had someone that came to deliver a lecture to, and I told us that few years to time, he said in the next 10 years, that time, that there won't be any job for typewriters, because in the newsroom that time, you just do your copy, give it to a typewriter who will typeset. I mean, who will turn it into a typewriting form. So he said it that time, and we laughed that day. It was not up to that time before typewriters doing that. So the fact of the matter now is that we should start looking towards that. And spending a lot of money on subsidy is not the way out. I've said it earlier. Subsidy is usually looked at through three lenses. The first one is the political lens. The second one is the business lens. The third one is social lens. In all of this we are still retaining this subsidy regime because of the political reasons. You understand? Because everyone knows that, even the government knows that if subsidy is removed now, it's going to cause chaos. But business-wise, the business experts will tell you that it makes no sense. And socially, we have not been able to put in place a lot of social infrastructures, a lot of social alternatives before we can say we are going high.
Let's bring into perspective now the Petroleum Industry Act. We're still waiting for the full implementation of this document. Now, looking at cost-cutting measures, do you think with this presidential assent that we've had for the act now, do you think now it's been law, do you think we're going to see any cost-cutting measures that will come to bear as promised within the prospect of the PIA?
Okay, thank you so much. By that provision, by the provisions that we have in the PIA, we are supposed to have that. In fact, I think yesterday, I read a report about the GMD of NNPC, Malamele Kyari, saying that by 2022, the NNPC shares will be in the public offering. So that is to show that. But one thing that's a caveat I need to raise here is that it will still require political will. It will still require determination on the part of leadership and the followership. We have those, up till now that we are talking, it's not that we don't have laws or rules and regulation in the country, but one thing is to have rules and regulation. The other thing is to have the political will to ensure the proper implementation of that rule and regulation. So I've been able to see the PIA. It contains a lot of provisions that will help the cost of Nigerian hydrocarbon industry tremendously, if I'm allowed to use the word. But another thing that usually make me to have, a step back, is the will. Up till this sample moment that we're still talking about, we are supposed not to have subsidy. if not for the fact that the government, I mean, the President Buhari, set up a committee and give them a year window to work and submit a report. So what that to me is that definitely, whether we like it or not, we are still going to have a subsidy regime for the next 1 year. So while we are doing that, there's nothing wrong. I know that NNPC is trying, I've read a lot of reports actually about efforts that they are making on rejuvenating the refineries. We know that even on the private side, we have a lot of greenfield refineries, we have a lot of refineries that are springing up, but we need to make sure that these are done, as seriously and quickly as possible, and with determination to help the cause of Nigeria. We are wasting a lot of Nigerians. About 1.5 trillion naira, have a year spent on importation of something that we have. It doesn't make even any sense. A crude that we have to, export it out to go and refine, give jobs, a lot of jobs to people, help economies of other countries, and we now import that and spend a lot of money. We know the NNPC is trying its best, and the government is trying the best on that, but that best is yet to be seen by a majority of us as the normal thing. And I understand the reason that this is happening is to ensure that we will still even spend more during this half year, because we are already in the ember months. And exactly, you understand the challenge that ember months okay, I wouldn't say that because it's man-made as far as I'm concerned. By the time it's ember months, we have experienced it that there will be issues in the supply of petroleum products, and I know that NNPC will not want that to happen. Last year they were able to scale through that, the year before they were able to scale through that, and this year they will do. So while doing that, it means what we are spending in the half year will be less than what we are likely to spend.
So we are likely going to spend much more, because we need to have enough of stock to ensure that we have enough supply through the ember month and also the first quarter of next year. Thank you very much for your time on the breakfast show this morning, Adeola Yusuf, and hopefully we see a cut down in the price of petrol and the price of our importation, and then we see our refineries back on track.
Thank you for having me.